Arikawa. I'm with the Port of Los Angeles. I'm in the International Trade Division. And, I'm thinking, you're thinking I'm going to talk about all the size of ships and things like that, but I'm not going to really talk about it today. I'm going to really focus more on what is happening through the ports. And a lot of what I'm going to talk about is in this pamphlet that I left. This is our latest statistics of trade that moved through the Los Angeles gateway in 2018. And we did $456 billion worth of trade both in and out through this gateway last year, which is a record. In fact, it broke the prior record by quite a bit. And so this is really what I'm going to be talking about today. And let me so this is what we call San Pedro Meter is made of. As you know, there are two ports that make up our bay. There's the Port of Los Angeles and Port of Long Beach. And it's interesting because I'm always trying to explain why are there two ports there. And most of us who live here, just the city boundary happens to go along the middle and where the wetland is. There are two cities there, so that's why there are two ports. But this is the largest port complex in the U.S. Port of Los Angeles right now is #1 in terms of container cargo. Port of Long Beach is #2. So if we were to rank us, of course, in the Americas, we're #1 and #2. If we were to combine the two ports and compare them globally, we rank about #9. So it's, we feel good. We're up there. Okay. And like Paul says, we want to make this interactive. So as you have questions as we go along, please feel free to let me know. And we can discuss that. Okay, so what are our biggest markets? You can tell by this. Now, of course, China is #1 with us. And then as you see, you go down the line, Japan #2, Korea #3, etc. Vietnam is #4. And one of the most interesting stories that I like to talk about is Vietnam. Because in 2010, Vietnam ranked #20. Here, in a few short years, they are now #4. And it's really remarkable. It's very, very remarkable what they have achieved. And my projection is at the rate they're coming up in terms of trade, they're probably going to be #3 in the next couple of years. So it's really interesting. But you can get a pretty good idea. If you look at among the different countries, the bulk of the countries are on the Pacific Rim, primarily in Asia. Yes?
Are these imports or exports?
Both combined, total trade. Okay. I'll get into kind of the breakdown as we go along. Okay. But, one of the interesting things is that we usually don't think Europe is a big market for us. But individually, the European countries are not. But if you were to take the countries in the European Union and you were to add them up, they would actually rank #3. So, Europe is an area that, we should try to investigate. And this is what I'm trying to lay out is, as you develop, as you get into your businesses, you want to think about, where should I start? What country should I go into? And I'm just trying to kind of give you an idea of what's happening today in what areas, and kind of get your thoughts going along that line. Okay, so here are our top 20 import commodities, and you can see it's quite a variety. Okay, and I'm going to pick one item on here that we found very fascinating, and there's an interesting story to it. So I want you to look at number 12. It says diamonds. And of course, the diamonds come in by air. So, you know, our Los Angeles gateway includes the air cargo, so the LAX. But when I get into exports, I want you to see where diamonds. Okay. Now we get into exports. We see diamonds again. And we just couldn't figure out why diamonds are showing up twice. And we learned that diamonds are shipped in uncut. They're brought into the LA Jewelry Mart. They're processed there into jewelry stones, and they're re-exported out. And that's why it shows up here twice. But when we first saw this, we just couldn't, we thought it was a mistake. But it's an interesting story to see how things go in and out in terms of trade. Okay? So when we talk about trade and we look at the different regions, we have a program of educating small business into exporting. It's called Trade Connect. And one of our main programs is called Export University. And Export University is a 10-class program. And we'll be starting our next Export University at the end of June, but our next session. But we always encourage companies to really seriously take a look at countries where we have free trade agreements. And free trade agreements really enhance the opportunity for small and medium businesses to get into those markets. So these are some thoughts for you to think about as you go along the process. Okay? And of course, being on the Pacific Rim, Los Angeles, we really look at Asia as our market area. But as you know, Pacific Rim starts from Chile, goes all the way through us, and winds up actually in Australia. So it's a big territory. So you have a wide variety of potential markets for you to really look at. Okay? So those that really look at are, of course, the Pacific Rim, and particularly what we call ASEAN. I don't know if the Association of Southeast Asian Nations. These are 10 countries that make up the Southeast Asia region. I've been very involved with them recently. In fact, I just came back from Cambodia a few months ago. I found it very, very interesting. I actually took 3 or 4 businesses from here, Southern California, there. And I'm hoping that they create a market there. West coast of Latin America, these are from Chile up north to Mexico, and you know we have trade agreements with all those countries along the Pacific coast with Latin America, and so this is a great opportunity. I already mentioned Europe, the European Union, and more recently I've really started to pay an interest in sub-Saharan Africa, and I actually attended an Africa Day celebration on Saturday, and some of the gentlemen here were there with me, and it was quite interesting as to what is evolving there. So this is an area that you need to start to take a look at. Okay. So more specifically, these are the 10 ASEAN countries. I'm sure a lot of them many of you are familiar with, but this 10 ASEAN country region represents about 700 million people population. It's about a $2.5 trillion combined economy right now. I think it's actually higher. I think the 2.5 was about 3 or 4 years ago. It could be closer to $3 trillion now. So the beauty of this region is that they have a very active growing middle class. Their GDP growth on average has been well over 5 or 6%. Some of the countries doing a little bit better than that. Even Cambodia is doing 7%. So, it's an area that has great economic activity. It's, I think, a good area to look at. I mentioned the Latin America. The Pacific Alliance is an interesting organization. Right now, they are made up of 4 countries, and they're sort of similar to a group where they coordinate trade among each other. And as you can see, we do have free trade agreements with all these countries. And we worked well with the Pacific Alliance. I think this is a good area for you to look at too. Okay, I did mention the European Union, and of course, you know pretty much that's a very, very strong economic area. The population and everything else, it's a very positive area, and we do have quite a bit of activity with European countries, as I mentioned earlier. So, I started mentioning Sub-Saharan Africa. Like I say, this is a newer area that's starting to evolve. I met with a number of consulate representatives, and there's some, I think certain countries are looking very, very good there. And I think it's certainly an area worth taking a look at. So I think pay attention to this region. And actually that concludes my presentation. If you have any questions, I'd be more than happy to answer them. I will be here. Yes, Paul.
I have a question, getting
Yes.
started, getting these primed up. When you think of the port, it has such a huge impact. Every one of you should know his name, his email, and his phone number. But at the conclusion of this program, you've offered something wonderful to the participants in this class. You wanted to share with them what that is?
Absolutely. We would be very happy to have all of you come down to the port and do a port tour. We do port tours regularly, but I can arrange a special one for this group here. And if you've never been on a port tour, if you've never been alongside a ship and really see how large it is, it's just phenomenal. I can tell you, I've been on this port tour at least 700 times. I've worked my whole career in LA. And I'm on the boat once, twice, sometimes 3 times a week.